I'm going to do a little video to document the rebuild of the Land Rover, and I want to show people what got put on it. Let's start with brand new brake master cylinder. Where the brake fluid had leaked, we put some of this rust bullet silver paint to cover up the spots that it might rust. That valve right down there is the rear brake proportioning valve. That got replaced, brand new, $125. The ABS unit came out, got completely cleaned. All the brake lines came off, got blown out, never seized. You know, the ends got never seized, the threads got never seized, and all the nuts got cleaned on the wire wheel, so they're all nice and tidy. The whole inner fender on this side got painted with the rust bullet because the old master cylinder leaked fluid on there, took all the paint off, and that brake proportioning valve leaked for looks like years and just dripped fluid down there, so that all got painted to protect it. The shock towers came out when I put new shocks in, so I painted the shock towers, prepped those, and painted those too. So what we've got in here for shock springs and shocks now are these Terra Firma medium weight 2-inch lift suspension all the way around. The suspension that came out of it had two different front springs. One was stock, one was a lift spring, and then in the rear one of them had collapsed, so the truck listed to the right pretty far. So down here where you can see the line where the paint came off because of the brake fluid dripping, I just went all the way up to the corner and painted over the undercoating and stuff. Just make it look tidy. I've got some black rust bullet. Once I've gotten this thing completely pressure washed and cleaned, I think I'll go under and paint the whole frame and chassis with black rust bullet. It's UV protected. It's not like POR 15, and I think it'll protect this thing. This thing has almost zero rust on it, so I want to protect it as well as possible. So let's see. We also did wheel bearings. So we got the hubs off, did the inner and the outer, brand new wheel bearings all the way around, except the right rear. Those were reasonable. They didn't need to be changed, but everything else needed to be changed. We got EBC green stuff pads in the front, stock pads in the rear. Calipers came off, got completely cleaned. They were completely free. They didn't need new boots or anything, but all new hardware, new pads, and the brake lines were perfectly free, but I never seized those and got those really nice. And then the hubs got completely cleaned up as well, and the bolts are never seized and lubricated, and the wheels are ready to go back on. So I'll just do a quick walk around and just show you all four corners. So that was driver's side front, passenger side front, and you can kind of see what I want to get off with the pressure washer. I want to, like, there's a tiny bit of crust forming there, so if I pressure wash that and seal it, it'll seal that and protect it for a long time to come. Let's go to the passenger side rear. Not much room to work in here. There's our passenger side rear. New hardware, new pads. This side got fresh, all of them got fresh grease in the bearings, but this side didn't get new bearings. Medium springs and medium shocks, 2-inch lift shocks. Everything's installed properly and torqued properly. And driver's side, not much room to walk in here, but I'll try to jam my little body in here. Okay, here we go. So there we are. The studs are all never seized, and they have a little lubricant on them waiting for wheels. Pads, springs, shocks. Everything's torqued. Also, the exhaust was missing from the catalytic converter back, so I bought a new catback exhaust for it. And I really like how the stock system fits really nice and tight in here. Shouldn't rattle or do anything, so I like that. Okay, we'll go back around the front. So I did a new front seal. So underneath here, take the fan off, take the harmonic balancer off, and then clean everything, put a new front seal, new crankshaft front seal, and then reinstall everything nice and clean and tidy. Hard to really get a feel for it, but that's that. The front end of this truck had minor little dings here. This is where the headlights attach. And so I took a hammer and dolly and dollied that out, flattened it. And I ordered brand new headlight mounting plastics and hardware. So that's on its way. It's not here yet. I'll show you the old stuff. So there's a couple new ones that did arrive, and some of the old ones are just broken. A couple of the old ones are reasonable, so we'll keep those as spares. But the parts that are back ordered right now are these little sockets where the headlights mount into, those push in. So all but two are broken. So that one's missing an ear, that one's missing two ears, that one's missing an ear, and that one's still attached. So I've got a handful of those coming too. So now I can mount the headlights properly and then adjust them with the adjusters. So that's all good. I've been taking the air and just blowing out every little crevice. I got a pressure washer coming, so places like, let me get the light on it a little bit more. Places like that just have mud on them, I'm gonna get the pressure washer in there and clean. I hand wiped some of this stuff out, and it came out okay, but I'll hand pressure wash it and get as much of this gunk off as possible. So exhaust, brakes, wheel bearings, shocks, springs. I've got new lights for the rear bumper coming. Those were missing, and I haven't ordered the bumperettes yet, but I will. And in the back here, so I used the rust bullet on the back, and I'll show you the places where there was some rust. There was a little bit of crusty stuff here. So I scraped it, sanded it, smoothed it off, got it just smooth. And then this rust encapsulator will lock that stuff in place. So I'll put a second coat on that tonight, and that'll be done. And then we'll put the carpets back in. And then later on, when I go underneath the truck to paint the whole truck with the black rust encapsulator, it'll get the paint on the other side of that. So that'll lock that rust in place. These things are known for just completely rusting out on these floors. The sheet metal is pretty tinny and thin. So I'm really excited that this one only had this little spot there, and it had just a tiny bit right there. Once we get the second coat on that, that'll lock water and moisture out of that. This is the fuel pump, and what I did is vacuum all that out. Originally, the truck did not run because inside the tank there was one wire that had corroded a little bit in the gas. So I pulled that out, bent the prong, cleaned it, put it back in so it had a nice firm connection. Truck fired right up, no problem. The headliner is not too awful in this truck, but I'm still going to pull it down and reline it. So that's on the list, and I'm gonna do sunroof seals, and it has a crack in the windshield, so I have to put a new windshield in it. It's not just a crack, it's actually cracked in half. Somebody decided they wanted to take the rearview mirror off. They broke the glass out of the rearview mirror, and then it cracked the windshield right down the center. So, bummer, but that's the way it goes. The paint on this thing is atrocious, but once it's all done and on the ground and driving, I'll get a buffer out, buff it all smooth, and I'll decide what to do with it after that. But the body panels are pretty straight. So I'm getting ready to put the wheels on, back it out, and drive it for the first time with brakes. And the pressure washer should be here tomorrow. So I'll put it up out in the front, out in the driveway, jack it up, take the wheels off, and spend a day or two just going around every nook and cranny, blasting it with soap, and then blasting it with fresh water, and then let it dry, and then we'll bring it back in and paint the chassis. So, yeah. That's the update so far. Oh, fresh oil and filter. And I took the front bumper off. It was not mounted properly, and it was kind of wonky, and the grill is kind of wrecked. So I'm going to decide what to do with the grill, and whether or not I'm going to put on a winch front bumper for it, or what's going to happen here. Anyway, update on Land Rover.